Okay, we are ready to start. I welcome you at our webinar on the topic of how to have high energy and high motivation. My name is Galina. I am the founder of the People Accelerator, which is your virtual gym for learning and practicing life skills. For those of you who are new, this is a series of webinars which we are doing in summer 2021 for you to already get started with your life skills in very specific situations for specific challenges that we have in life. One of those is the current topic of raising our energy and level of motivation. So let's start by checking out who you are and what is your expectation on today's webinar. Please put your comments in the chat. New ideas, new perspectives, answers for problems, okay? How to motivate myself on a daily basis, motivation in job. I want to have more energy for my projects and my family. Very good. Today, I am going to present you one of my favorite models on how I manage myself and how I support my clients. And afterwards, we are going to take one of your practical specific examples and explain the model based on your examples. So let's get it started. We start with the question, when was the last time that you felt high on energy, meaning you had sufficient energy to do the things that you wanted to do, and or you felt really motivated? Just think about it briefly. Or if nothing comes to mind in that moment, just think about one person who, in your opinion, has the right level of energy and motivation. From my experience, if it is you or the other person that you just came up with, we can describe that state of having clarity in the action, feeling at ease, feeling in flow, being able to execute, not procrastinating, not overthinking, not having an issue with communicating something. So does it match your expectation or your experience? And that's basically what we want. This is basically our reference image. This is something that we can calibrate to in our approach of raising our energy and motivation. So let's now find the right picture for energy. What does energy mean? Energy is our force. Energy is what is invisible on the one side, but on the other hand, it is something that we all feel in our own way. And energy is something that helps us live a better life. One of my favorite pictures to perceive or to describe level of energy or energy management is to imagine the energy as a water stream, starting somewhere in the mountain, being small in the beginning, and then getting bigger and bigger, stronger and stronger, and at some point, getting into the ocean. So what is your energy stream, if it is a water stream? What is its length, its form, its color, its quality of water, its clarity? And is it Is it flowing freely, or are there some things that disturb the flow? Some things like rocks or trees falling down and getting stuck in the stream? If yes, those are basically your energy drains. So we can and if you're watching the recording later on, feel free to pause and write down some examples for the two categories. On the one hand, you write down what are your energy givers, the things, the people, the situations, or your roles that give you energy, that fuel you. And on the other hand, write down what are the things and people and experiences and so on that make your energy become less and less. Those might be energy vampires, energy drains, things like working with a lot of numbers or working on computer for so many people nowadays, not seeing specific results of our work because so many things are digital, or people around you communicating in a way which leads to conflicts. What are your energy sources and your energy drains? So basically what we need here is to have an awareness about our energy stream, to have awareness about the energy drains, and to make sure that on a daily basis, we take care that the energy drains become less and less, and all the energy sources become bigger or more in a number. That's the one point. The other point is to, or now for me at least, to pay attention on distinguishing between short-term energy management, which is basically, if I feel down at the moment and I want to raise my energy level very fast, because in the afternoon, for example, I'm going to have some important meetings, or in the evening, I'm spending time with family and I want my energy to be high, or I need to move to another apartment, so I need my motivation so that I can pack my stuff and prepare. This is a short-term energy and motivation management. For this one, we are going to talk mostly in the next webinar, which is on the topic of how to manage stress in 11 minutes or less. And now it is more about the long-term management of energy and motivation. That's another subject. So now I'm going to show you one of my favorite high-tech, AKA offline presentations, which is a very beautiful, in my opinion, overview on the 4 categories which help us to live life of integrity. And why am I showing this? Because from my experience of 15 years working with thousands of people, I can boil it all down to living life of integrity equals having our energy and motivation as high as possible, or having the ability to manage it in the best way possible. And integrity, in my definition, means to be aware of your emotions and to allow yourself to feel what you feel. The second is to have your own life rules and to live according to them. The third one is speaking your truth, which is of course based on the previous 2. And then the fourth one is keeping your agreements or managing all your agreements. So how can you do that? The first one, feeling your emotions. For this, it is good to consider that you need enough of 4 different categories. First one is time. You need enough time so that you can perceive how you feel and why you feel what you feel. Second one is you need the space to do that. Space in terms of you need some quiet time and space, so that you can block all the disturbing voices of society, parents, partners, boss, government, whomever, your own critical voice. So you need that quiet space so that you can really hear your emotions. Then the third one is that you give yourself the permission to hear, to acknowledge, and to embrace your emotions. The next factor is that you decide that those emotions are going to matter to you and you are going to integrate them in your energy management. And then the last one is basically the repetition, that you don't do it only once, but more than once. Let me check the comments. Okay, so this is basically on how to feel what you feel. Then the second one, how to know what are the rules and the principles of life that you want to live by. You basically, once, best case, on a regular basis, sit down and you write down what your own definitions of the most important things in life are. For example, you write down your top 10 rules for life. Those can be principles such as, I am going to act according to my value system. Another principle can be, family is always first. Okay, you don't need to write down 10 principles or life rules. It's really enough if you write down 3. It is already very helpful. Then you define for yourself things such as, what does success mean to you? What does happiness mean to you? What is life worth living? How does it look like? How does it feel like? What are the qualities that you want to have as personality in the different roles of your life? What, yeah, just a second. What for you and only you, what is right, what is wrong, what is important, what is not so important, what is bad and what is good. Why is that important? Because, for example, let's take success. When you know as specific as possible what success means to you, then you can determine if a day of your life has been successful or not. You can determine if the way how you played something out was successful or not. Same goes for a year of your life, a project, area of your life, and so on. Because if you don't do it, and same goes for me and every person that I know, if we don't have our own definitions, if we don't have our own rules for life, then we very fast tend to playing according to other people's rules and definitions. So that's basically the downside. So that was the blue icon, doing things according to our own rules and definitions, to what we consider right in one specific situation or in life in general. Then the third one, speaking your truth. Speaking your truth is something that you do with yourself in private or with other people, meaning that you are honest to yourself when you define things, when you do things, when you reflect on things, when you decide on where to go on vacation, for example. You are honest to yourself about what you really want, think, do, or don't do. And then on the other side, you speak your truth towards other people. And those two ways can go in a proactive way, meaning it doesn't need a specific occasion or specific invitation by another person for you to give feedback. It is probably the best way for you to create meaningful connections to other people if you give feedback on a regular basis in terms of you speak your mind. You meet a colleague and because you heard them in a meeting yesterday and you were impressed by something, you just give them the feedback without them asking you to. Or even on social media, on LinkedIn, let's say, or Facebook, it doesn't matter. Every time you give a comment or a feedback in private to someone, you speak your mind, you speak your truth. Of course, if it is your truth. And every time you do it, you give the other person the opportunity to connect with you. And you give yourself the opportunity to manage your energy because you help your water stream to flow without obstacles. And every time you speak your mind and you speak your truth, you give yourself and the other people the opportunity to create other good things that start right over there. For example, if you give that colleague the feedback that you were very impressed by their presentation or their project report, then you give them the opportunity for them to explain you why they did it the way they did it and how they did it. And maybe to recommend you a book or a seminar or a new software, something, so that it comes back to you, so that you can learn, you can improve, you can put things that you like from other people on your plate, in your workshop room, so to speak, and then you can implement better things. But also, after having such a conversation with your colleague, you have created a common base and you already have one piece of the puzzle towards a meaningful connection. And tomorrow, if two of you meet again, then it is much easier to talk about other things. So this is on the topic of speaking your truth. And then the fourth one is about you managing all your agreements. Agreements are all the small and big things that you officially or non-officially promise to do. This might be sending an email, finishing a report, going to a birthday party, meeting over drinks, giving your parents a call. All those social, let's call them social agreements, are very important. Not only if they're important to you, but they are important in terms of they all come in a basket, and at some point, just because of the huge number of interactions that we nowadays have, this basket gets very full very fast, and it gets very heavy because all the different agreements that we have, they are like invisible to-dos and keeping our mind busy. But today's topic, they don't only keep our mind busy, they keep our water stream busy from flowing in a smooth way. They are like stones on the way. So what does it mean? I recommend you to first have an overview of what kind of agreements do you have with other people. Just write down what you expect from yourself, what you have promised to yourself. For example, all the New Year's resolutions. Those could also be things that you want to be, or you want to act in a certain way. This is also kind of an official agreement that you have with yourself. What are the things that you have agreed upon with other people, not only officially in the workspace, but also unofficially, for example, with family members. Normally, that's part of our culture in the small groups of people that we live in the different environments and the different tribes that we are in. There are so many unwritten rules, and there are so many unspoken expectations that we have. If you want, write down some of them. And then you can decide which of them do you want to keep, which of them can you delegate, which of them do you want to renegotiate. For example, one of my nerdy sides is that I really love having this type of interpersonal relationships in which, let's say once a year, we sit down and we have a discussion in terms of, am I being a good friend to you? How can I be an even better friend to you? Just let me know. What can I do for you to feel even better? What can I do so that our friendship gets even better and more fun, more exciting? So imagine that you have something similar in your interpersonal relationships. It can also mean that you revise all the agreements that you have towards customers and colleagues. And then a very important point, decide on which are the agreements that you not only want to renegotiate, but you want to cut loose, you want to say no. And this is okay. We very often tend to ignore or to feel uncomfortable saying no to people, especially after once we said yes. But from my experience and the experience of my clients, at least what they told me so far, is that very often when we say to someone that this project is not going to work, this vacation that we planned together is not going to work, then the other person doesn't really have an issue with that, or they can propose a different thing that suits both parties. So to sum it up, make sure that on a mid to long-term basis, you reflect and you make sure that you feel what you feel. You know how you want to act and what is true for you, what is right for you in life, for you to be a good person on your terms, for you to have a good life on your terms, and make sure that you take every opportunity as often as possible, of course not always, but as often as possible, to act in a way which you consider right. Then you speak your truth on social media with people, but also with yourself, and you manage all your agreements. And if you do them, then I really promise you that your energy stream is going to flow in a very smooth way, and all the rocks, all the trees falling in the way, they are going to get maybe not less, but for the water, it is going to get easier to move them away and to continue to flow in a smooth and natural and healthy way. Because what happens if we don't do it, then if something gets stuck, then the water can't flow, and then at some point it starts flowing very fast, which is again not so healthy. Okay, now let's take one example, one issue that some of you have had in the past, and see how this model applies to it. Okay, let's take this one. My business partner and I were in a meeting with clients, and he spoke on behalf of two of us, and he promised things that I don't agree with and that I don't think that we can implement, but I didn't speak up, and that was awful. Okay, I get it. So when you have a business partner or a colleague, and in a conversation among two of you or with other people, which is even a more complicated situation, let's call it this way. If something happens which doesn't match your understanding and your definitions of behaving in a right way, in a professional way, if it doesn't match the way how you speak up or how you promise things and then deliver things, then I very much see why it is a disturbing situation, because when such a thing happens, you have basically two, or let's say three different scenarios. First is, and this is what I see from many of my clients, first is because you have those social rules in your head, like in a meeting in front of other people, you don't show disagreement with your partner. Those are the things that you discuss afterwards. So in the meeting, you don't say anything, because those are the social rules, how we humans behave. Then it leads to you starting to feel frustrated, maybe angry, maybe annoyed or betrayed, or you feel that the other person is not acting correct. And then if you don't speak even afterwards, it leads to you getting totally frustrated and you getting totally unmotivated to deliver or to continue discussing or to, in general, work on that project. This is what happens so often because of a misunderstanding or because of an action which was not corresponding to your values. Then your motivation, your energy go down, and it leads to you feeling frustrated. And very, very often people in that case think that this frustration, this lack of energy and motivation comes from the other person acting the way they acted. In this case, promising something which was not agreed upon and which is not a good business decision, let's call it like this. But the truth is, your feeling of frustration and maybe anger or dissatisfaction doesn't come from only, or not on the first place, from the other person acting the way they acted, but it actually comes from you not communicating in a way in which you wanted to communicate. Maybe it is not even the first time that that happens. This is also something that I see very often. And maybe because it already has happened in the past and you haven't managed that agreement with your business partner in a way which is good for both of you, then you see what the results are or the consequences. And if you don't have your clear definitions of business relationships, success, happiness, of your personal life rules to live by, so you either don't have them or you don't act on those life rules, you don't act on those values. In case you don't do those, this is the actual reason why you feel bad. Again, on the one hand, the other person acts in a way which is not professional, which is not good for your relationship, maybe even for your clients. And yes, this is bad, but this is not as bad as you not acting in a way which leads to life of integrity for yourself. And very often, from my experience, because people have had similar situations on a multiple occasions, even with multiple people, it gets even 10x as bad. And this is why we have this feeling of, that's wrong, I don't want to have that, I'm angry. So what you can do instead, you can, in advance, make sure that you, just a sec. Okay. You make sure in advance that you have learned how to hear your emotions, how to perceive your emotions, so that in such a case, you can distinguish between feeling bad because of someone else's actions or because of your own perception, or even because of something that happened in the past. You can do it once you start reflecting, documenting and reflecting what your emotions are. You can also watch our other webinar, which was on negative thoughts and emotions. Over there, I show the model of the emotional scale. This is a wonderful tool which helps you to determine very fast what is the exact emotion that you feel in that moment. So this is something that you do on a regular basis. This way you train your perception muscle, let's call it like this, so that in that meeting, you can feel and you can understand, wait a minute, I'm feeling like this because of that. Then another thing that you can train with time is review your own definitions of success, how to behave, values, life rules, and so on. This is another thing, so that you are well prepared about having a basis for deciding, is that something that is according to my values or not? Another thing that you can do is you can have your own collection of how other people, let's call them role models, people that you know from your environment or even from movies or books, people who you know who handle difficult situations in a good way. And once you start to collect other people's behavior, then you have some examples about how to handle such a case. And let's say if at some point you have seen a wonderful character in a book who handles conflicts with sense of humor. And based on that, you have built your own strategy on how to handle conflict with humor. And then when this case comes, you are well prepared and you can speak up in the meeting in a way which is professional and nevertheless with humor. And then you resolve the situations in the moment itself. So this is another thing that you can do. Or of course, after the meeting is done, if you don't want to do it in the meeting, then after the meeting is done, you can meet with your partner and you can renegotiate your agreement. It doesn't mean that you fight or that you have some ugly discussions. It means that you are very clear about what your understanding of your partnership is. You hear them out and you decide based on what just happened how this partnership is going to continue. And believe me, even after such a difficult situation, afterwards, when you feel your emotions, you know what your exact definitions for success, for right behavior, for partnerships, friendships, for professionalism, and so on are. And you act upon them and you speak your truth. This gives you a huge liberation. This gives you a huge freedom of the energy stream in your whole system. And then you are the person that you want to be. You are the business partner that you want to be. And then also for your customers who are sitting in the meeting or your colleagues, you are also the colleague or the partner that you want to be. Try it out and let me know how that goes. So for those of you who are watching the recording, You can contact me at any point via email or on the website, LinkedIn, and so on if you have any questions. And for you, I'm already saying bye-bye. See you at another webinar at the Pivo Accelerator or at our club. And for those of you who are watching in the moment, please feel free to type your questions or comments in the chat. We are going to discuss them right now. Yes, I will answer it.